Hello and welcome to the Value the Markets shareholder webinar. Today we're joined by Fosterville South Exploration's President and CEO, Bryan Slusarchuk. Fosterville South has been one of this year's hottest IPOs, as we've seen the shares rise over 4 times in its first month since listing. We've got the opportunity today to talk with Bryan a bit about the company, a bit about its background and foundation, and why is it that it's attracted so much investor interest since first coming to the market. There's a fascinating backstory which Bryan will talk us through, and we have a number of questions that have been submitted in advance by shareholders who want to find out more about the company. So Bryan, over to you.
Great, thanks for having me on, Ben. The Fosterville South situation has, over the past few weeks, excited the markets. In the few short weeks since we've come to trade publicly, we've announced the addition of 3 new properties that complement our core holdings that were assembled over a multi-year period. We've announced a $15 million financing that was significantly oversubscribed and featured some of the smartest institutional investors in the precious metals space in North America. And we've also very importantly announced that we've commenced drilling, and we have 2 drill rigs turning on our Golden Mountain project. And the map that you're looking at there shows the Fosterville South tenements. It's a huge land package in excess of 1,400 square kilometers in total. Notably, if you take a look at the Lauriston project, Lauriston is a 600 square kilometer land package with historical of significant grade in excess of 20 grams per ton head grade. It has the big regional structures running through the property as they see at Kirkland Lakes Fosterville itself. And as you can see on the map, it is immediately south and actually contiguous with Kirkland Lakes Fosterville tenements. So very exciting property, and we look forward to commencing drilling in relatively short order at Lauriston. So the drill rigs are already turning at Golden Mountain. We're targeting to get them turning at Lauriston in short order. It's going to be a very newsy period of time with multiple projects being drilled and a lot of work on the ground. And when you take a look at the map, the number one question that pops up, you take a look at something like Lauriston. As I mentioned, 600 square kilometers, contiguous with Kirkland Lakes Fosterville tenements, significant hard rock production, north of 20 grams per ton gold. It's got the big regional structures running through it. It's got gold with antimony. The question pops up, how did we acquire this in 2020? And the fact is, we didn't. This was a multi-year process led by a fellow named Rex Motton. Rex is one of our Fosterville South founders. Rex is the chief operating officer of Fosterville South, and Rex resides in the area. He was raised in the area, and as a teenager spent years prospecting throughout this gold belt. He went on to have a very successful career internationally as a geologist, but he always kept an eye on his own backyard. And in 2015, 2016, Rex started to pay a lot more attention to what land would be potentially available in this area. In early 2017, at the start of 2017, Rex started to apply for ground. And it's really important in terms of context to note that big head start that Rex had. Rex was able to start this land assembly prior to Fosterville becoming the household name that it is today. Rex acquired the ground privately, and we were fortunate through a past and long relationship with Rex to be the group that he chose to take this impressive premier land package public. We took it public on the TSX Venture in Canada, and we did that for a few reasons. Number one, our network is very much in North America. We've had a lot of success with another company that I was involved with. I was a co-founder at K92 Mining. I was president there from inception up through to cash flow positive operations. And our network is very much North American. At the same time, it's important to note that analysts and banker dealers in Canada are very familiar with this area of the world. And that's, of course, because Kirkland Lake is a Canadian company, and it was Kirkland Lake's success building out Fosterville itself as the world's highest grade and the world's lowest cost gold producer that has put this whole area on the sight screens of international investors. We were, of course, fortunate, as we've news released, to attract Eric Sprott as one of our largest shareholders. Mr. Sprott, of course, is very well known for his success as the former chairman at Kirkland Lake. So we've attracted people that have done exceptionally well in this area of the world. That's a big validation, obviously, for our land tenements. But the real credit here, Ben, goes to Rex Motton, who really had the hometown advantage and the big head start on assembling these properties. Rex's house is approximately 25 minutes away from Kirkland Lake's Fosterville mining operation. He truly is a geologist that is from the area, knows the area, has maintained a database on the production and exploration in this entire region for decades. And we're very fortunate to be the team that was able to take this premier land package in what's arguably the world's most important high-grade gold mining camp public.
Yeah, absolutely. And the backstory for Rex's involvement here is really fascinating. So I think the first discoveries at the Fosterville mine with Kirkland Lake, those were announced back in 2015 from memory, just the initial discoveries in I think it was the Eagle Zone, wasn't it, when they first made an underground discovery?
Yeah, the Kirkland Lake Fosterville experience was such that that particular mine was near surface, lower grade, and it really wasn't until they started to drill deeper, understand the geology a little more, that they made these incredible high-grade bonanza discoveries. And again, it's an advantage of having Rex involved in the mix. Rex knows the area. He's spent decades there. He's not only followed along the Fosterville progress that Kirkland Lake has made over the past number of years, but knows all about all of the other operations in the area, the underlying geology. He has spent countless weeks and months in the field in this area. And it's with that background that we start our exploration program. We start our program with the knowledge of what's happened at Fosterville itself and also within the area. If you look at a project like Lauriston, again, 600 square kilometers, big regional structures running through it, gold with antimony, historic hard rock production of real size, 230,000 ounces plus at 20 grams plus per ton head grade. We would never be able to acquire this land parcel today, knowing what the world now knows about this district. It was Rex getting the head start on the competition, so to speak, that has afforded us this opportunity. And I think that's why, to go to your original question, Ben, this Fosterville South has attracted so much attention. We had great support from some of our largest shareholders in the recent $15 million financing that was arranged. We also added some great new precious metals institutional investors to the registry. And I think given where this is, given the underlying geology, given Rex's ability over a multi-year period to acquire this package, it has really captured the imagination of institutional investors and retail investors alike. We were flooded with calls from Australian investors when we announced we were taking this public. It was known that a private entity, a group, had acquired this premier position in this very important high-grade mining camp. And once we announced that we were taking it public on the TSX Venture Exchange, we had a lot of incoming inquiries from Australia that just complemented what was already occurring as to excitement from our North American investor base of institutional and retail investors.
So, Bryan, I brought up in front of us the map. So we've obviously focused so far on the Lauriston projects. You've talked about the plans that you have there, but your most recent announcement, you disclosed to the market that you've started the drill campaign over at Golden Mountain, which we can see to the northeast of the map. Now, this program is over 18 holes with 2 rigs running, and it started last week. Can you tell us a bit more about that project and why you began with Golden Mountain? Why didn't you start drilling at Lauriston?
Sure. So the plan from day one, as we disclosed in our original documentation, was to conduct drilling at both Golden Mountain and Lauriston this year. We dedicated approximately $2 million to the exploration program at Golden Mountain and approximately $2 million to the exploration program at Lauriston. Golden Mountain was further advanced in the drill permitting process, etc. And unlike Lauriston, we had some historical work, drilling work done in the 1980s and 1990s at Golden Mountain that could help guide the startup of our drilling efforts. So it was a little more advanced in that way. At Lauriston, we've had some real success in the field doing various soils, geochemical work, etc. And our program, our drill program, is now actually going to expand at Lauriston versus what it was originally envisioned as. So Lauriston, we always plan to start drilling Lauriston after we started the drills turning at Golden Mountain, just because of logistics. But we're very excited about both projects. Golden Mountain has had some significant historic production. It's had some drill results in the past, in the 1980s and 90s. The limited drilling that was done at Golden Mountain was focused on finding some near surface open cut type potential. But what we've seen based on our review of the data is that this is wide open at depth. There's real size potential, and there's significant grade at depth that has never been properly tested with a modern systematic drilling program. So we're very excited about Golden Mountain. In the meantime, we've advanced Lauriston along nicely now. It's drill ready, and we anticipate to be drilling at Lauriston in the next couple of months. So you'll have a lot of drill news flow from both Golden Mountain and Lauriston. Rex, in fact, as we speak today, is on site with the 2 drill rigs at Golden Mountain, but we've had a team doing a lot of work at Lauriston also in preparation for a big drill program there.
So obviously that drill program, you just mentioned it's been expanded quite significantly. You've recently raised $15 million, which Canadian dollars that is, which was up from the 10 million initially announced, reflecting how much appetite there's been for the company's stock. What else? What other plans do you have to do with these additional funds that you've raised?
Well, the funds are going to be used primarily for expanded exploration, and that involves not only expanded drilling at Lauriston, but expanded regional work. When we went public, we had dedicated, like I say, approximately $2 million to exploration at Golden Mountain and $2 million at Lauriston. Based on the success we've had in the field work at Lauriston, we want to expand that out. And success dependent at Golden Mountain, we'll also enter a phase 2 drill program there. And now we're exceptionally well funded for that. And this $15 million raise, we originally announced it as a $10 million raise. Overnight, the books were dramatically oversubscribed, led by institutional orders in Canada and support from some of our largest shareholders. By the pre-open the following morning, we upsized the financing to 15 million, closed it off there. We had to do quite dramatic cutbacks to allocation because even at $15 million, demand far exceeded supply. And what this does is it leads us very well financed as we embark on not only drilling at Golden Mountain and Lauriston, but as we continue to put together the big regional picture here for people. And like I say, when we look at these projects, Lauriston, Providence, Golden Mountain, of course, we like what we see in terms of the structures moving through these land packages. We like the gold with antimony. We like what we've seen in terms of the limited past exploration. But what's really important also to put this in context is the significant hard rock production. And if you look at the significant hard rock production, it's important to note when this occurred. At Lauriston, you have 230,000 ounces plus of historic production just north of 20 grams per ton. Most of that was from the late 1800s up until about 1910. There was a little bit of additional production during the Depression era, etc. But this significant hard rock historic production was accomplished despite very little drilling and despite no drill testing at depth and despite lack of access to modern exploration equipment, etc. So the fact that they achieved that in the late 1800s and up until about 1910 shows you the potential of hard rock mining in that particular property. And of course, from a geological perspective, we see the big regional structures running through it. We see gold with antimony, which is a hallmark of the Fosterville mineralization. We have that context with the historic hard rock production of very high grades. All three of these properties, Lauriston, Providence, and Golden Mountain, have had historic hard rock production of note despite very limited modern exploration. So Rex and the technical team couldn't be more excited. We've got, incidentally, been a great team of Australians involved in management here. So it's a great blend. We're dealing with the capital markets from North America, where our network is, but we have some great guys with a lot of experience in Australia involved in the team. Rex Motton, of course, as I mentioned, COO and a co-founder here. He's based 25 minutes. His home is 25 minutes from Kirkland Lake's Fosterville operations. John Lewins is one of our directors. John is very well known as the CEO of K92 Mining, which he's built into one of the world's highest grade gold producers from a standing start. John is Australian, as many of your listeners will know. We have Doug Kerwin as an advisor. Doug Kerwin, Australian geologist of real renown, award-winning geologist, former VP exploration at Ivanhoe. So some incredibly strong technical minded people with real expertise that are originally from Australia. And I know they're all excited to see this exploration program develop and move forward. At the same time, our capital markets team in North America has had a lot of success creating value for shareholders around the world. And as our presentation mentions, we're fortunate to have amongst our largest shareholders some people like Eric Sprott, like Ross Beatty. So we feel very fortunate with our shareholder base, our capital markets team, and of course, the technical guys leading the charge, notably Rex Motton, who's a true hometown guy in this area and knows the area as well as anybody.
Of course. Now, you've just mentioned, a lot of the success that the team has had. You're own experience, of course, with K92 and the capital markets experience that you've had with various ventures over the years. How does Fosterville South compare to previous ventures that you've been involved with?
Fosterville South, it is, as we note, it's the world's best address for high grade gold. Fosterville itself, the world's highest grade, the world's lowest cost gold producer. So being in this neighborhood, having that context, obviously as a starting point, makes things incredibly exciting. Add on to that these properties we've assembled over a multi-year period have the big regional structures moving through them, gold with antimony, hard rock, high grade historic production reported of real size. It's incredibly exciting. From an exploration perspective, it's tough to think of a more exciting place in the world to have drills turning. And my belief also, and the team's belief is, with discovery, with success on the ground in this region, you'll get rewarded for it handsomely. And the logistics here are excellent. They're obviously drive up drill targets, etc. Land access is excellent. This is a historic high grade mining district. Fosterville operating today just continues to blow people away with their quarterly reports of incredible high grade head grades. So, as far as how it compares, it's tough to be more excited about any part of the world right now than this Fosterville area.
Absolutely. And the Victoria Geological Study recently announced that they think there are as many as 80 million ounces of undiscovered gold within the sort of target areas that you as Fosterville South are going to be exploring. So I think historically they said 75 million ounces have been produced here in the last 160 years. So they're clearly the official statistics are very bullish for the outlook for the region.
Well, one of the things that hit home to me, Ben, is that when I conducted my first site visit there with Rex and with the team, one, it was a pleasure touring all of these projects with Rex because he just knows the area inside out based on decades of experience. But the thing that really hit home to me, because I've read all about the historical numbers and the amount of gold and the high grades that came from this area. But what really hit home was the lack of drilling. And if you look through the various reefs that amount to the production records totaling 230,000 ounces of historic production, just north of 20 grams per ton from Lauriston, as an example, when you look through the various production records, you'll see sizable production from a reef but with 2 drill holes. You'll see sizable production from another reef with no drilling, or it's noted as sparse drilling. And you don't see drill holes at depth. And at depth is, of course, as you mentioned earlier, where they saw the huge success at Kirkland Lake's Fosterville project. So the thing that really struck me was that this district, although very rich in gold, and the government bodies talk about big blue sky, as you note. The fact is, it just hasn't been explored in a big, modern, systematic way. And for the amount of production, the relative drilling is very small. So we just couldn't be more excited to get the drills turning here. And in many areas of these properties, take the first ever big, large, systematic look at this through the drill bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we look at the story of the development of Fosterville South itself, obviously Rex had the local insight that he built up over 30 years from a much younger age throughout his professional career. He obviously saw the results from Kirkland Lake's Fosterville project, so he was able to acquire the land package as you described for us earlier. But why do you think more companies haven't explored at depth yet? Why do you think more drill holes haven't been put into the ground across the region, given the potential that's now being uncovered?
Well, I think it's a matter of timing. Right now, there's a huge rush going on there. Everybody's scrambling now to get ground in this area now that it's become arguably the world's most important mining camp for high-grade gold. But what it is really important to understand is that Fosterville has only become a household name over the past few years. So if you go back 6, 7, 8 years, there wasn't a lot known about the high grade potential that Fosterville exhibited. The district was rather sleepy in terms of the amount of activity that was occurring. There was a little bit more focus on Bendigo, Ballarat, etc. And really, it's just been over the last few years that Fosterville has increasingly become so well known in international mining circles. So again, Rex starting to apply for ground at the start of 2017, a few years ago, after taking 2015, 2016 look at the region in terms of what was available. That's a big head start. Right now, there is a relatively high profile tender process going on for some land in the area that's coming available. There are companies entering the area every day looking for land packages. But Rex was starting the assembly of this big 1,400 square kilometer package of land a few years ago. So that's a big head start. I would say that over the next 12 to 18 months, there will be as much excitement and activity and exploration around this area as anywhere in the world. The rush is on right now. We just happened to back a fellow that was there a few years before the rush started.
Yeah, and obviously that's been a fantastic position to be in. So, why don't you tell us a bit more about how you actually met Rex then? How did you manage to find this opportunity?
Well, we've dealt with Rex a few different ways over several years. Different members of our team knew him as a geologist. Rex has had a very successful international career as a geologist. Rex did some work with us on various projects in terms of putting together 43101 reports, that sort of thing. He was just known to our circle and our team. And Rex followed along the K92 story from start to where it is now quite attentively, knew that we were a team that had a good capital markets following, was able to raise capital to get money into the ground, into drilling, into exploration and development. And I think he became very comfortable with us as a team. Our chairman, James Hutton, who's had an incredible track record in the resource space. James deployed in the neighborhood of $1.4 billion of investors' capital into the flow-through space in Canada over a number of years as a fund manager. James and Rex got to know each other quite well. And I think that Rex convinced technical guys within our group, such as Doug Kerwin, about this incredible opportunity from a geological perspective. At the same time, James and the rest of us convinced Rex that we were the right group to take this opportunity public, and that North America, with their knowledge of Kirkland Lake's Fosterville operation, was the right place to do that. So it was really a perfect fit. And I guess those relationships developed over several years. Rex acquired these projects over a multi-year process. So even though we've just come to trade a few weeks ago, this has been a long time in the making. And that's one thing that I point out to people when we talk about the last few weeks. And in the last few weeks, like I mentioned, we add a few projects that complement our existing land holdings. We announce the start of drilling. We raise $15 million from some of the best precious metals institutions in the business. It seems to all be happening very quickly. But what I point out is the real foundation for this success that we're having in the capital markets today is the multi-year period that Rex worked in this area assembling the ground. And beyond that, the decades of experience he had compiling and maintaining databases of information about this entire region. It's really Rex's hard work over years, and in fact, over decades, that led us to the opportunity that we now have in the public markets.
Absolutely. Now, of course, thanks to Rex's hard work and the original land packages that you put together, of course, the company's third project prior to the recent acquisitions is, of course, Providence, which is, I believe, 650 square kilometres between Golden Mountain and Lauriston. Now, this project is at the permit, also at the application stage. Can you tell us a bit more about where you're up to with Providence and what might investors expect to see over the coming months?
Sure. And it's a great question, Ben, because with the work that we've been doing at Lauriston and Golden Mountain, Providence gets lost a little bit in the minds of some investors. But Providence is a huge 650 square kilometer land tenement. Providence has had very significant historic high grade production. And when you look at the slide previous that details a little bit of that production from Doyle's and Langridge's, 12,000 plus ounces at 51 grams per ton head grade at Doyle's, 20,000 ounces plus at 56 grams per ton head grade at Langridge's. I mean, those are just exceptionally high grade gold numbers. And again, in the context of the time period, even more impressive. So what we're going to be doing at Providence is really taking a look at all of the historic data we have, which Rex has a better handle on than anybody, overlaying that with some of the new knowledge about this region based on the success of companies like Kirkland Lake at their Fosterville mine, based on work that the Geological Survey has done, etc. And we'll be going in there to hone in on drill targets. We want to be advancing Providence along towards drilling over the next 12 months also. So you'll see, as you know, drilling has started at Golden Mountain. It's about to start at Lauriston. We also want to have the drill rigs in at Providence, and we'll be doing the groundwork to get the targets up to a drill-ready state. We anticipate over the next few months. Providence, based on the 50 gram plus head grade, historic hard rock production, and the big structures that run through it, etc., the gold with antimony they've seen there, there are some spectacular exploration targets at Providence, and we're going to be in the process of just vectoring in on those in order to bring it to a drill-ready state.
And again, with recent funds that you've raised, I think, can investors assume that you have budget allocated ready to start the drill bit turning as soon as you're permitted to?
Absolutely. I mean, we're very well funded here. We went into our listing process with just over $6 million in cash. We've just arranged the $15 million raise. So we're in exceptionally strong position for a small cap company embarking on exploration. And it's one of the things that over time, I've been very cognizant of with various companies that I've been involved with, is that you want to have these companies well funded, because the risk of being undercapitalized is a real risk in the space. You want to make sure that the geologists, the technical guys that are really going to drive value for shareholders, are doing so with a budget that fits the work program. And to put ourselves in this type of condition, we have no debt. We have a big cash balance at the start of our exploration program. Just puts us in great shape. And based on the exploration we have planned, this gives us a couple of years of working capital to go really hard in the district and produce results that can really move the needle for shareholders. And even with this big cash position we have a relatively small number of shares out. Post the raise, you're in the neighborhood of 60 million shares with in the neighborhood of 20 million in cash. It was just in great shape starting out, and a small market cap still relative to having 1,400 square kilometers plus of projects tied up in the world's most important high-grade gold mining camp, projects that have not only incredible underlying geology, but a history of ultra high-grade historic production reported. I mean, I believe this is just as compelling as it gets for people that are bullish on gold, bullish on the gold environment and the market. And my view is that we're in the early stages of a once in a generation gold bull market. And in those early stages, you want to be in the high grade situations. And this area of the world, there's no higher grade area of the world, in my view, that is as compelling. So at a sub $100 million market cap, I think Fosterville South just represents an incredibly compelling situation for investors.
Yeah, it's and it's obviously been extremely well received in the market since you debuted just a month ago. Now, we haven't talked yet, Bryan, about the recent acquisition, so I'll bring the map back up. And viewers can see to the northwest and north of the map the three license areas that you took on. Now, those are slightly further away from your primary projects or that you originally started with, but we can obviously see there's a lot of historic gold production across them. Can you tell us a bit more about this transaction, how you came across these licenses and why you picked these particular areas?
Sure. These were projects that Rex was very familiar with going back 10 years plus. So Rex had familiarity with them from a geological perspective. We knew that they were coming available. And once we were listed, we were up and trading. We had some discussions with the group that had the assets. We were able to structure a very good transaction for all parties and put them into our property portfolio. Rex and the technical team are very excited about these projects, but at the same time, over the next 60 days, the focus is really on Golden Mountain here and, of course, Lauriston and advancing Providence towards drilling. But we anticipate to have some news starting to flow from some of these new acquisitions also. And again, the fact is that Rex having that hometown advantage, knowing about these projects going back 10 years, gave us the opportunity to move very quickly once they became available. And again, it's just a testament to how valuable it is having Rex leading the charge for us in Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we're expecting to see, so as you say, news flow coming from your two active drill campaigns, that the second one about to start obviously at Lauriston in the very near future. So over the next 6 months, to wrap things up, what's your pitch then to investors? Why should investors continue to look at Fosterville South as a buy from this point as we move forward?
Well, I think you have a great corporate structure. You have a company with relatively small number of shares out, with a great balance sheet, no debt, big cash position, and a portfolio of projects that represents the premier land package in what's rapidly emerging as the world's most important high-grade gold camp. We have a technical team that's an award-winning technical team with a proven ability over decades and decades to execute. And we have a capital markets team that has a proven ability to generate shareholder value. So you've got a great corporate structure, you've got a great land package, you've got a team with a proven ability to maximize the value for shareholders via whatever comes of the land package over time. And these properties, again, big structures running through them, gold with antimony, in the right part of the world, the right geological setting, right type of rock, and as further evidence as to their prospectivity, ultra high grade historic production. So we're in the right place at the right time, and we're well funded to execute on the ground.
Well, Bryan, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today. We certainly look forward to catching up with you later this summer and to hearing the news flow as it comes from the company, particularly from Golden Mountain and Lauriston, and as you start to move forward at Providence. So, Bryan, thank you very much for your time.
Great. Thank you, Ben.